Hi, I'm Chef Marco at Chef Works in Jersey City, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Swiss roll, or a jelly roll, or a roll-up cake, which is just a thin cake which gets rolled up and then we fill it with something. So this recipe exactly fills a half sheet pan, and I'm going to start by separating the eggs, and I use my hands, so get over it. And this is the way I like to break eggs. The first thing we do is turn on the oven, prepare the oven to cook. I turn it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to continue separating the eggs. The nice thing about this recipe is that it's so easy. By the way that we do it, it sort of takes all the difficult. The whites we're going to put over by the mixer. We prepare this pan simply by putting a piece of parchment paper onto it. We don't need to put any grease of any kind on the paper or on the pan. Quarter of a cup of water. I have the recipe all written out, so you don't have to worry about listening to it. 2 tablespoons of salad oil, vegetable oil. You don't want to use olive oil. You want the cake to be sweet and delicious. So, now, and the last thing is, okay. The recipe gets the recipe gets a half a cup of sugar, but we're going to reserve half the sugar for the egg whites and the other half. So now we have 2 phases of the recipe. We have the water, the oil, and the egg yolks, and we have the whites waiting to be whipped, and then we have the dry part of the recipe. And we're sifting that to get it in any rogue clumps of material that might be in that we don't want in the batter. So that's that. And this is what it looks like. It looks sort of the way cake mix batter look when you buy a cake mix. And I know you've done it, so don't lie. And now we're going to whip the egg whites. This is cream of tartar, and it makes the egg whites behave, and I just sprinkle a little bit in. The beater is set on medium high, and at the point at which the whites sort of look like a beer with the foam on the top, then we can proceed to put in the sugar. And the sugar is added gradually. Now we're just going to stop for a moment just to scrape the side to see if there's any sugar that's not added into the whites. And now we're going to whip it for about 5 minutes. So now we've been whipping these for about 5 minutes, and they are exactly perfect. I'll show you what we're looking for. It should look like whipped cream. It should look like whipped cream. See, it's got a definite shape, but it holds its shape, but it's not stiff the way many recipes call for when you're making cakes and things involving egg whites, because this makes the cake nice and moist. So this is perfect. Double, but this is the folding motion, and I'm going to do it a bunch of times. This is so we deflate the whites as little as possible while mixing it into the batter. And it's like rowing a boat. You put it in, you put the paddle in so that it has the least amount of resistance, and then you pull what's underneath onto the top. So in just a few motions we pretty much accomplished mixing them. And then, so we did that in 3 additions. One we weren't so careful with, and now we're a little bit more. And we're not too concerned if there's a couple of wisps of chocolate. This is nice and mixed, and we don't want to deflate it if we can avoid it. So now we just pour the batter into the pan. Now we can just tip the batter over. And it's going to seem like there's not enough material in the pan, but don't let that dissuade you. It's as it should be, because then it's going to puff up, and it'll be thin enough. If it puffs up too high, you can't really roll it properly. So, and even though you have to use this tool, gravity is pretty much doing most of the work. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's nice to have it be as even as possible. Alright, here we go. And again, I'm using my hands. Okay. And now we just kind of move the cake a little bit to just get it flat and to get out the air bubbles. And that's perfect. That's just what we want. And into the oven it goes. Now, I'm going to turn the oven down to 325. This was just to give it a little spring to put it at 350. Now it's going down to 325. And I set my trusty timer for 15 minutes exactly. Now I'm going to show you how to make whipped cream. It's the easiest thing to do in a kitchen, and I'm making 2 cups worth because I have two rolls to fill. And here we go. Now, again, I'm being naughty. I'm using my finger, but that's some things don't change. That's it. It's very important that we chill the whipped cream, the heavy cream. That makes the best whipped cream. It gives it a lot more body. It prevents it from turning into butter by over whipping. But these days, now that we have ultra pasteurized cream, you almost can't over whip it. And I'm going to whip it by hand, so you almost can never over.
Okay.
Now we're going to take it out of the oven.
Ooh.
It's nice and light. You hear that sound? That means it's done. But we don't have to guess because 15 minutes is perfect for this. It's never any different. And I'm turning the oven off. So I'm putting this onto a screen so it can circulate some air. And we're going to wait for it to cool off. And then we're going to proceed with rolling it up. Now, we just take the same piece of paper and put it right back on the cake. And we turn this upside down like that. And a little bit of the cake is going to stick to that. That's okay. Now, we roll the cake up using the paper in between so that now this can be stored for as long as you want, overnight for 2 days, and then it can be filled. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to make the whipped cream. This is confectioner's sugar, and I'm straining it because sometimes if it's moist it gets lumps into it. We're down at the geez. Alright, you'll have to take my word for it. For each cup of cream, I put 1/4 of a cup of confectioner's sugar. If I were using regular sugar, I'd whip the cream a little and then add it. But now, a lot of people want to use their mixer to do this. I never do. I find it extremely pleasant to make whipped cream. And it takes about 2 minutes to do this, depending on how vigorously you beat it.